Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Jones with TechFaster.com. I'm here with Alex Opolis with Objectivity Squared. We also have Mitchell Davis with Bibliolabs and their product Biblio Boards. We have Steve Parker with Levelwing. We have Chad Norman with Spark, Buff Ross with All One Word Design, and Stanfield Gray with Dig South. And we're going to have a little discussion today about Dig South and Charleston as a knowledge economy. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Mitchell, you've been here for, close to 20 years as a tech entrepreneur. I've been here since '94, and I grew up in California, which had a big technology imprint on the culture. Walk us through a little bit of the last 20 years and sort of how the technology community has sort of blossomed into what today seems like a real thriving part of the economy in Charleston.
Yeah, I think it's scary, first of all, that I can reflect on anything as an adult for 20 years, but...
He's 22, by the way.
Yeah. I've been an adult for 20 years. Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think Charleston's trajectory in a lot of ways has traveled parallel with just the trajectory of the web in general. You know, I mean, I know... And Ryan was actually involved with me in the first company we started back in the early 90s. And it was a desktop publishing company. You know, we were doing electronic publications. And, you know, if you were in your early 20s in the mid 90s working on Macs, and all of a sudden Netscape 1.0 came out and you were using that as a product, it was really hard not to just be completely overwhelmed with the potential of what the internet was going to do and how it was going to change how business happened. So I think it's been an incredible experience to see the attention of the world come to Charleston, not just for technology, but for all sorts of different reasons, to see how Charleston itself has blossomed, the arts community, the music community, and I think the technology community has just sort of come right along with that. It's been really exciting to be in Charleston and see more talent stay here, more talent move here, companies relocate here, and the cumulative effect of all that is that it's created an amazing scene, and I think we're going to, you know, get to see really see that really come to a head with the Dig South Festival. I think that's we've needed something like that for a long time, and I'm glad that, you know, Stanfield and the people working with him have stepped up and created an event that really helps us showcase everything that's going on here.
Thank you, Mitchell. Next we have Steve Parker with Levelwing. Steve, tell us a little bit about Levelwing and what brought you to Charleston and your involvement with Dig South.
Well, first of all, we started the company about 10.5 years ago in New York, and as we started to grow and scale, we wanted to look for an opportunity to scale the business outside of New York. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, a lot of financial reasons. There's an issue with retaining talent in New York, where, I mean, for obvious reasons, if you're in New York and whatever salary you make, it's just never enough. You know, I mean, the cost of living continues to rise. I mean, not that it doesn't in other places, but here it's a little more stable. When we started looking into, you know, our company, historically we've been a marketing agency, if you will, on the digital side. But as we grew over the last, especially over the last 6 years, we've grown into more of a sort of a data analytics, business intelligence type company. And so now only about half of our revenue comes from media. The rest comes from sort of high-end, you know, business intelligence, analytics, data mining, data enrichment process type of activities. We took that same approach when we looked to where to expand. I had no ties to Charleston. Didn't care if I was here or not. It made no difference to me, right? I mean, I wanted to choose the right place for our company to continue to grow. So when we did our research, we wanted to stay in the Southeast because we didn't want to be too far from our New York office. But the cities that really came up on the map for us were like Raleigh, Louisville, Nashville, Baltimore. I mean, there was those kind of cities, and Charleston, of course, was one of them. As we dug deeper, visited those cities, spent time with the chambers, with like the regional development alliances for those cities, and kind of looked deeper into the research, the type of companies that were there, all those cities have unique flavors to them, and frankly, I grew up in Nashville, so my whole family's there, so that would have been an easy move. But we want to do the best thing for the company. And one of the unique things about Charleston is we found this sort of underground movement of tech and people that wanted to grow these ventures, and you had a lot of influence from the Northeast down in Charleston. So even though it's a southern city with a very southern heritage, it has a very diverse culture in many ways of influence from Boston, New England area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, DC, and some other areas. I mean, in fact, if you take some of the Delta or JetBlue flights and flights in New York, I mean, there's people that commute from Charleston to New York every week to work. And so that was one of the biggest reasons that we chose to be here, and it's been a tremendous benefit for us. I know you'd asked me, Ryan, about Dig South, and I'm glad Stanfield took it on. We've been talking for a couple years about, we should have a festival or a big conference or something here that's digitally focused and talks about not just the technology, but also some of the arts and entertainment unique things that are in this region to bring people here. That's a lot to take on. I'm glad I didn't take it on. Probably all of us are glad we didn't take that on, except for you. So thanks. But it's turned out to be something where there's been a lot of people to support that, because I think we all wanted it. And I think that if we look ahead, say 15 or 20 years, I think we'll see that Charleston on the East Coast of the United States will be this really big region of influence for tech and arts and entertainment and that sort of thing, which is kind of, you wouldn't be your first thought for this area. I mean, your first thought would be, let's go play golf, let's go to the beach, let's play tennis. And certainly those things exist, but those are added benefits for being here and running a business or being part of this community to grow those types of organizations.
Buff, how are you this afternoon?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Tell us a little bit about sort of trends in mobile, and I'm really curious, because you're sort of at the intersection of the culinary and cultural and technology spaces, and how those sort of all seem to be supporting one another in this sort of movement or groundswell.
Well, before addressing the mobile thing, I guess I'd like to talk, say that there's also, I feel like, in addition to the technology boom, and driven by many of the same factors, I feel like that there's a big design boom happening in Charleston, and it's always been, a haven for artists, and, and I think I see a lot of it kind of coming in parallel with the movements in food and how we become this destination food city, and all of these similar quality of life choices that allow people the freedom in our new economy to locate their businesses wherever they want and solicit business outside of this region. And I think that there's a number of growing design companies here that are doing national work, and I think it's been a fun and interesting move for Charleston. In the mobility sphere, we're loving doing responsive sites right now. I think that for the majority of clients, there needs to be that middle ground where they have really mobile-friendly experiences for their users. We do a lot of work within the restaurant world, and everything we're building now is mobile, because looking at the analytics, how many of their visitors and users are coming from that environment, and yet even some of the restaurant groups we work with don't come to us with the budgets to develop an app or a mobile parallel site. And so I think that the emergence of responsive technology has, greatly changed what I'm able at. These are the big guys. We're coming in as a much smaller firm, but we're able to offer more robust solutions for clients that are closer matched to, our size and skill set. But and backing up to some of the themes that we've been talking about Charleston, being this new kind of confluence point. One of the things that I find interesting is that you look at these nodes around the country that have been bursting on the scene in technology, and I think you definitely see a design following along there. Especially coming out of places like Austin and Seattle and Silicon Valley, is that those are such new places comparatively to Charleston. Charleston, and I think it's been really interesting to see, you know, not only is Charleston, you know, aesthetically a very historic and, you know, older city, but culturally, you know, and especially in the business world, it's, you know, very staunch. And, you know, as a lifelong Charlestonian, you know, in the 1980s, there was, you know, kind of very little of that. It was more about, you know, protecting and growing, you know, family money, and, you know, you did business with the same people. And it's been interesting because I'm still friends with many people that come from old school Charleston, and you know, in a lot of ways, some of them are totally unaware of what's happening around them. And so I think that the Dig South presents an interesting opportunity to broadcast that to not only the technology world, but also to Charleston, as, you know, the way Spoleto, what Spoleto has done for the arts, you know, hopefully this can do for the technology community in raising the awareness within the Skinny Peninsula.
Next we have Chad Norman with Spark. Chad, we've worked together a little bit. Spark has talked to TechFaster in the past, and I know that you're heavily involved in both employee and community relations. Can you tell us a little bit about Spark's approach to that?
So a big tenet we have at Spark, one of our first core values is people first, right? And so everything that we do out there really starts there. Every business decision, every person that comes in the building, whether it's a customer or a team member, to the community at large. We just really try to think about how would we want to be treated, and treating people that way as well. So as far as our community involvement, I think that goes into play with what we've been talking about a little bit here today. We've tried to create a sticky environment out at Spark for our team members, people that want to come there, they want to go there every day. I think it was the CEO and founder of Starbucks that was like, hey, let's create a place that people want to hang out between home and work, right? So we just wanted to make that work, right? So we're kind of like, I think what's going on in the community is a little bit of that on a larger scale, right? Charleston's become really sticky, I think, to people that are looking for a new place to live, a new opportunity, a place to start a business. And so we're kind of seeing a lot of that in the community, right? And so we're trying to give back a lot and participate a lot with the corridor events, whether it's Code Camp or Code Show or the I5K, Bar Camp, and hosting our own hackathon. So we're trying to, again, infuse technology back into the community, sort of like what Stanfield's been doing and what a lot of us have been doing. And I think that's going to go a long way towards the evolution of Charleston, right? We've sort of, I think, seen Ernest and the mayor's vision really come to fruition in the last few years, and I think we're just hockey sticking with that. I think it's really going to accelerate, and really great things are on the horizon for Charleston. So.
Next, certainly not last, not least, we have Stanfield Gray, who's the executive director of Dig South. Stanfield, tell us a little bit about Dig South's origins and what it's all about, what people can expect April 12th through 14th.
Well, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate being here today. Dig South is the first and only event celebrating and exploring the southeastern knowledge economy, or the digital economy, as some people refer to it. What we're trying to do really is create an incredibly festive, fun environment in Charleston where these guys can tell their stories, you know, where the companies can emerge and really shine, where entrepreneurs, rabble-rousers, startups, all the way up to the CEO, CTO level can come together, connect, talk about what they're doing, and maybe, you know, opportunities will arise out of that. So in the first year, we created a theme. You know, we felt like we needed some way to ground it and people to kind of bounce off of that. It's the intersection of technology, social media, marketing, and the arts. And that was meant to pull from a lot of things these guys are doing, what Buff mentioned about creative industries in particular. So, and what we mean by the arts are people that are taking advantage of digital platforms, even down to a crafter who may be at Marion Square and have a fantastic Etsy site, you know, really using social media to push that out. People that are using data analytics, big data, cloud-based computing, things in a really intelligent way. And we felt like also as we were building these themes, that content creators and software developers, hardware developers have always sort of evolved hand in hand, all the way back to Thomas Edison and the phonograph. He was a scientist, but creates a machine to communicate music and sound, and the iPod, of course, and Steve Jobs, and the iPhone wouldn't exist without the evolution of that. So for us, it's a natural fit to kind of create this mashup of creative industries and technologists. So that's kind of where it began. Now, I was inspired by the Ad Age Digital Conference in New York a couple of years ago, in addition to my friends here in town and all the things they're doing. And what I realized at that conference, they had people from Foursquare and Facebook, and Arianna Huffington was the keynote presenter, was that in my mind, the people I knew in Charleston were just as intelligent, just as hardworking, many of them just as visionary, but didn't have as much access to capital, talent, the infrastructure in the city. And this was about 2.5 years ago. In the last year, I feel like, what Chad's saying, that it's really, the momentum is picking up. The Charleston Digital Corridor, CRDA, Charleston Creative Parliament, all these organizations, the SCRA are really, things are bubbling up and kind of emerging in a way that I haven't seen. I moved here in 1998, and I haven't felt that kind of momentum until, I would say, the last 2 or 3 years, really. And so we felt like the timing was perfect to put together this kind of festival. So in a lot of ways, this is kind of the new version of Spoleto, or the 21st century version of that, really. But it's more of a blend of art and commerce together. And those aren't as mutually exclusive in this type of environment. And at the same time, we're going to have some fun. We're going to bring in a lot of rock and roll, some entertainment, some comedy. So I know this is somewhat of a long-winded answer, but it's just really exciting to me, and exciting to see these guys succeed, and to feel like we can do it out of Charleston without having to move to another metropolitan center. John Yerian kind of jokes that Charleston was what he calls BYOJ in the last few years, of bring your own job. Yes, you can move here and it's amazing, but you better create the job. So that's still true somewhat, but I feel like it's shifting, it's changing. I mean, Spark announced they're hiring, 250 people, 300 people in the next few years. So that right there is proof positive that you can stay here and make a go at it.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us today. And everyone, please stay tuned in Dig South.